Again, thank you all for being here. My name is Christian Alvarado. I'm the manager of peer learning for the Children in Nature Network. I'm glad you're all here. So far, it looks like we have a little bit over 40 folks here in the chat. Thank you so much. Um, you know, we welcome you to the Nature Everywhere Community Action Challenge information session. Before we get started, we'd love to know more about where you're joining us from. So we'll have a poll up in the chat. We have a couple options here on the poll. Let us know where you're joining us from. There's city institution, which would include city elected officials, parks and rec, health services, water, stormwater, anything like that. Um, Community-based organization, a nonprofit, BIPOC-led organization, and then other. There's so many other sectors. We just didn't want to have a long list of so many. Well, we appreciate you guys submitting for this. All right. Looks like we got 32 responses. I'm seeing the majority is sitting at city institution, community-based organizations. That's great to see. We have a couple of responses for BIPOC-led organization and other. The reason why I asked about this is, one of the requirements to join the Action Challenge or register for the Action Challenge is getting a cross-sector team. So we just really wanted to know kind of what our audience was looking like. And this is awesome to see that there's a pretty good balance of folks joining us. And I think, yeah, that shares the results if anyone missed those. That gives us a little bit of a good balance on city institution, community-based organization, BIPOC-led, and other. All right. So as a reminder, we are recording the event. If you have any hesitation with the recording, please turn off your cameras at this time and remain on mute until our Q&A section of the event where you can ask questions, get back on camera. And keep in mind, you can also ask questions and share things in the chat as well. Some additional logistics, we do have closed captioning available, and that should be enabled. The chat is available for anyone to comment and share their thoughts or questions. We'll be selecting a few of those questions for our Q&A. So don't, it's totally fine to go ahead and ask those before we get to the Q&A. We'll have those collected at the end. All right. So I do want to start by respectfully acknowledging that I'm joining you from the unceded land of the Tungus, Quinnipiac, and Wapingur peoples, who've stewarded this land throughout the generations. We also invite you to share the Indigenous land history of your location in the chat. And if you're not familiar with the history of your location, you can learn about Indigenous territories and land with Native Land Map at native-land.ca. We should be sharing a link in the chat if you need to look that up and let us know. In addition to land acknowledgements, here are a few ways that you can support Indigenous people every day. So, of course, learn about whose Indigenous homelands you're on. Educate yourself on Indigenous issues. Amplify Indigenous social media accounts or share any of their content. And then support Indigenous causes or businesses. So some of you are already introducing yourself in the chat. And if you haven't already, please share your name, your pronouns, your location. And one little icebreaker, I'd love to see what's one way that your community is connecting children to nature. I'd love to see that. Let's see. Let me take a second to look at the chat. I'm seeing Sacramento. I'm seeing a student from Chicago, independent artist, West Palm Beach, Florida, Denver, Urban Gardens. All right, San Francisco. I'm seeing project coordinators. Chattanooga is in here. That's so awesome. We're having like a really good balance of people all over the country. I'm seeing Austin, Texas, Indiana. Imperial Beach as well, Colorado. Thank you all for joining us. It's I love seeing the engagement because sometimes we have these things and it's so quiet. So I try my best to get folks to engage, and I want to learn about you as much as we want to share content about what we're doing at Children Nature. So thank you for sharing that, and definitely continue to do so. So what are we doing today? So we're in this welcome right now. We'll do just these very brief introductions of myself and my speaker that'll be joining me from National League of Cities. And we're going to introduce the Action Challenge. I hope that you've had the chance to look at our website. We're going to really dive deep into the website and what's available to you. So we'll talk about that. We'll also briefly talk about the Nature Everywhere Peer Learning Network and what events and things that we're scheduling to happen for the Action Challenge. And there's this little secret group that no one can see unless you're a part of one of our communities. So you'll see that a little bit. And then we'll have some time for Q&A and really answer some of those questions. If anyone joined us at the Nature Everywhere conference, we had a session very similar to this. People had some great questions, so I'm really looking forward to any questions that come up here. And then we'll wrap it up with a quick closing and a survey, and we'd love to know your feedback on how this session went, and if we were able to provide a good amount of information for the Action Challenge. All right. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to my great co-host, co-MC, co-speaker, Melanie Robinson's joining us. Melanie is a program manager from the Connecting Children to Nature at the National League of Cities, or NLC. And she'll be getting us started on the Action Challenge.
Thanks, Christian.
All right.
Hi, everyone. It's great to meet you. Christian already did most of the introduction for me. My name is Melanie Robinson. I work at the National League of Cities. We're happy to be partnered with Children in Nature Network and Kaboom on Nature Everywhere. And I am excited to see all of y'all here today. Some of you I've met before, some of you are new friends. And so we are excited. And that is the thing about our Nature Everywhere communities and the Action Challenge, is that it is about making room for new friends and about enhancing and space and access for kids to nature in all communities. So, Christian, if you'll go ahead and scroll down just a bit to what is Nature Everywhere? What is this Action Challenge? It is a chance for you to be a part of a growing, large movement to connect children to nature, provide nature everywhere in 100 communities by 2025. The Action Challenge itself is a recognition program to recognize the progress, the work that you're doing in your communities, to connect children to nature. And you will, by joining this, you will receive some additional benefits and that Christian already sort of named, and then I'll talk about a little bit later. Um, so I know that this is sort of like a welcome to the Action Challenge, a place for you to ask questions. You might be saying, should we register? And so who should register? Community organizations, city departments, schools, partners, committed to connecting children to nature. To register, you'll form a 3-person cross-sector team. And ideally, those teams will include members from one or more organizations or government departments. We've got more information specifically in our frequently asked questions about what an institutional and government agency is and what organizations, nonprofits, and community partners are, and why having those people on your team is important to this work. So to register, you will click on step 1. You will also have access to this. We will share the slideshow and we will share links afterwards. You'll have access to a registration form that's already on our website. You'll click register for your team of 3 leaders in your community, and those team members will then become members of the Trailhead. They'll receive the Nature Everywhere community newsletter, which might one day also include a highlight of the work that you're doing now. And then you'll join a national peer learning network. And that's the value of being able to learn from communities across the country, 100 people or 100 communities all around the country doing similar work and learning from each other is a really unique value add to the action challenge. And then for step two, you're already doing it. You have joined an information section, woohoo, which will provide details on what it means to take action, how you can log those actions, and officially count yourself as an action challenge community to receive that recognition and then share your progress. And so we are happy to have you here today. I'm going to turn it back over to, actually, I'll just cover this part. To you, like I said, you'll have access to all of these benefits, tools in the trailhead, which you will see a little bit later, and some more material support. And so now I will turn it back over to Christian, my co-host, co-MC, colleague. We tried. Anyway, Christian, take it away.
I appreciate all the titles. It makes me sound 100% cooler. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. So many times when we think about these uh, experiences or initiatives, you might think of it as like a massive application. You need to get approved. You need to get, all these many steps to get to this part, to get access to tools. The difference with the action challenge is you click on register here as long as you have three folks that are on your team that are joining us from different spaces, right? A nonprofit, a community-based organization, city leadership, or Parks and Rec, something in different spaces. That's the minimum requirement that you have to join the action challenge. The registration form is very simple. It's just giving us what's your name, what's your title, let us know about you and your story. Why would you want to be a part of the action challenge? Um, that form flies through the internet space and I take a look at it and I look at it and I say, oh, that's an awesome team. I see that they have their three cross sector team members and they are now a part of the action challenge. That's as simple as it is. There is no massive application process. There are no long questions that you need to, work with a writer for or someone that, uh, you know, knows what they're like kind of doing and submitting for things. You get access to this network. You get added to this newsletter immediately. Well, not immediately because it's not automated. I have to send that to you. You get like our badges. You get a press template to share. Hey, my community has joined the action challenge, and looking at our goals, this is what we want to do for the next 6 months to a year. You get that in the first one or two emails from me when you join the action challenge. So it's very simple. You get access to that private group on the trailhead, um, which we'll talk about the trailhead and the group in a few minutes here. But you really get into the action challenge as easy as that. Now you can add photos if you have photos of your team or the work that you're doing in your community, because we love seeing content, because we can promote that you're a part of the action challenge and what it is that you're doing in your community. We love to see faces and the things that you're doing. And of course, telling us the story about why you would love to be a part of the action challenge is important, but not required, as long as you have the team member information there. So when you're on this page, obviously you have this register here button. That's where that form is that I was speaking of. We also have a very large FAQ. There's a lot of questions on like, what's really a cross-sector team? Can I participate in this? How long do you expect us to do this work? The good thing about that is that this is all self-paced. There's no expectation of you. We would love to say we launched this summer, and by next summer we can say 12 months in, these many communities have joined. They've done all of these things. And so there's a lot of great information there in the FAQ, but we will also have a Q&A later in this session, but just kind of showing you where these things are on the website. So when you join the Action Challenge, you're really pledging your commitment, right? So it's saying, my goal is to at least participate in the Action Challenge in these actions that we are suggesting. These actions are really things that we've seen in the history of our work with cities connecting children to nature, and of course now with Nature Everywhere, that's really supported changes in the community. And when we thought about what has really supported change in the community, these actions and things have really come up for us, and they really came up to us as like clear goals that would support any community across the country. So we've split this into two spaces, two categories, or two action lists. It's a coalition builder and the Children in Nature connector. When you sign up for the Action Challenge, we would really love for you to commit to at least two of these actions. They don't have to happen on one side, right? You don't have to do two coalition builders or two Children in Nature connector ones. You can do one of each, one of each side, whatever you feel is something that you can do in your community. The coalition builder is really about using an equity lens. So a lot of this action is to help ensure that we, children of color and children experiencing poverty who have been traditionally excluded from having regular nature access, are included moving forward. So we talked about what sectors are people joining us from. One of the first things on here is like partner with a BIPOC-led organization. Are you registering as one? Because that now you have kind of checked off that first action, right? Because that team is already working on things to get to this space of being a Nature Everywhere community. There's conducting a landscape scan, really thinking about what policies, stakeholders, and programs are already in your community, right? Because you have to know what's already there to see what you can develop or even support, right? There might be already great things that are happening, and how can your team participate with that or support that or extend the work that's already happening? Or maybe you're finding that there's really a lack of something here, and that may be what your goal is for your team, right? Oh, we don't have this specific thing, or this partner has not been reached out to yet. Maybe we should think about reaching out to those folks. Convene stakeholders to ensure your community has input in developing a vision for equitable access. We know that it's important to community members to not only get something or receive content or receive support, but being a part of that. Being a part of the development, being a part of the vision is very important for children, for families, for partners, any of our stakeholders that are in the area. Hold a youth engagement event to incorporate youth voice and perspective into your community vision. And of course, obtain a pledge of support from a local official, mayor, city manager, or school superintendent. There are things that you can do without that, but we found that it's very important to get that pledge of support. Not only does it say to them, like, we have an eye on what you're doing, but also using that as your like, hey, this feels a little bit more official, right? You can put that on your press release. You can update your community. Hey, we received this pledge of support from someone important, and they're on the same page with us, and that's why we think it's important for the coalition builder. Now, on the Children in Nature connector side, these are steps to help community teams understand the types of projects. You're thinking about like, what can we do once we've kind of developed the vision, got the partners, spoke with stakeholders, got that pledge of support? What can we do as projects to really lead the equitable access to nature, which is our goal? So, of course, dedicating positions in your youth summer employment program to expand nature connections is one. Expanding a summer after school nature connection program with a focus on equity, ensuring children of color or those experiencing poverty or other barriers have access to nature programs. It's being very specific on the goal and what roles would be important in the projects that you're doing. We talked about this pledge of support, right? It would be so much easier to potentially create or improve a policy or resolution or budget if you have that pledge of support, right? Whether it's from the city, the school district, or utility district level. Those two things could potentially be a combination, right? If you get all this great work in your community, you say they're pledging to work with you. And now that you've done that, let's work on a policy update. Let's work on adding some budget to this work in the project that we're focused on in our communities. Many people know about adding nature play features in a park or schoolyard or public space. We hear a lot about like green schoolyards. That's something that's very popular. Having a nature play space. We've seen a lot of new parks have that in there. We know that it's important to include nature play spaces in parks, schoolyards, or public spaces, or an early childhood center. And then create a partnership of at least 3 local agencies to expand equitable nature connection. And the examples are here: parks, health, sustainability, watershed, and stormwater. So that's kind of like, once you register for the action challenge, you're excited to get this started. We're telling you like a roadmap of what we think would be the best way for you to approach this. And like I mentioned, I list so many things. If you can do all of these, or you have a goal to do all of these, I like to say, one of my coworkers in Children Nature Network, she likes to say a blackout on bingo. We do bingo in some of our in-person events, right? If you can get the whole board completed, that would be amazing. But we know that not everybody has the chance to do that, or may not know everybody in all these fields, and it's totally fine. It's totally okay. And even just registering to us is very important, because it's telling us that you want to learn more. You want to be a part of this support system in the peer learning network. So what do you do? Okay, you do all this work, you register, you get all these connections, you're a part of the peer learning network, you're looking at recordings of prior things, you're learning as much as you can, you're downloading all of our tools. What do you get? So as I mentioned, you're receiving a press release. So on registration, you're getting a press release. You're getting our badges. So these badges here, so you can add them to your website and say, hey, we're committed to the Nature Everywhere Action Challenge community goals. And so you get those badges. You get that press release, and we can support you on if there's any questions that you have in drafting that press release or updating it later on. We have support to help you with that. If you've never done one before, or need to just understand what you might need to get that set up for you. And we also have a template for creating that proclamation. That was one of our actions, or an announcement of support, such as a mayor proclamation. So we're kind of giving you we're saying we'd love you to do these actions, but we're not leaving you like high and dry to go off and do it on your own. We're really wanting to make sure we're giving you the tools to do all of this work, at least a majority of it, and we're still developing additional tools as we move forward. You're also going to be added to our Nature Everywhere Communities map as long as you get 2 actions done. So once you do 2 actions, we'll get you on our website. We'll get you on the map. People can click in your community. Say if there are I saw there was some connections of people nearby that they're already making connections here in the chat. Say there's someone like, hey, I'm personally in Connecticut. Say, oh, I'm in Connecticut. I want to see what's happening here in Connecticut. Someone can go to our map, and they can click on your community and see all the work that you're doing. If you have photos, if you've done any video work, and see what actions you're doing. And people can say, oh, I'd love to make that connection with this person. I'm going to pause for a second and just read the chat here, because I'm seeing some questions and some answers. Okay, doesn't seem like there's anything big. If there's any big questions, I'll make sure we get that answered later in the Q&A as well. Let me know if there's anything that you need me to pause at or kind of explain a little bit more. I can definitely do that. And then for the Children in Nature connector, what I was just talking about now was coalition builder items. So the Children in Nature connector, so you'll get included in newsletters or news features with the Children in Nature Network newsletter. We have a Nature Everywhere newsletter that goes out. And then, of course, the National League of Cities has news features as well. So, depending on the work that you're doing and the actions that you submit, we can say, oh, this is a great story for us to share. They have some great photos for us to share and a quote or story to share. And we love to promote that work, right? We're setting you up as best as we can, but you guys are all in the community doing the work, and we want to promote everything that you're doing. And if a news article or a feature or a press release supports you in getting any local additional support or um, you know, a proclamation or an announcement of support from the mayor or school district to say, wow, they're doing all this great work and they're getting noticed on a national level. We want to make sure we tell your story, and that's why it's important. Um, and also, like, we're planning to do social posts as well, social media. So the big thing is like the action challenge in our Nature Everywhere communities. The goal is to really share the stories and share the faces in the community that are doing this work. And it's important to us. It's very important to us. Um, and then the final thing here in recognition is support in designing a street sign or a banner. You're going to have these events. You're going to have, say, if you develop a nature play space or add something to a nature play space, um, you want people to know that you did that work, and you want, to know that the community members or the youth in the community, the children in the community worked with you to build this vision or worked with you to build a new space, right? And many times, if you go to a location like that, you'll see like a nice fancy sign or a banner at your events. So we'll support you on helping design that. All right. And then here in this little not fine print, but not so fine print because it's not smaller. Like I said, we were talking about if you did blackout, if you were to do a bunch of the actions and we're like, wow, this community is doing so awesome, and they're reporting in and they're letting us know and they're giving us photos. There are additional opportunities for promotion, and there's additional opportunity to potentially, be a part of a case study for us or connect with someone in our staff or a potential someone, an expert in a field that we know that you and your team could work one on one. There's nothing written in stone, so I can't promise that. So don't say that I said that. I did just to let you know that if you did all these great things, there's a potential for more to come, and I'm excited to work with you all on that. Throughout this whole process, it's going to be me. Sending emails to you, looking at your review form, looking at your, or excuse me, your registration form, your recognition form, and trying to make sure it's not, it's more personal. I want to have a connection with you. I want to really acknowledge the work that you're doing. So you'll be communicating with me on that. Additional to any of the custom resources that we're still developing, there are some resources already available. So on the bottom of our webpage, you'll see Action Challenge resources. There are items specific to our two actions lists. So the Coalition Builder resources, there's a lot of content here. There's guides, there's videos, there's toolkits here. You also have the Children in Nature connector, and then there's even more content here. And like I said, we're building more as we move forward in the action challenge. We have to think about too, like, what is it that our audience needs? Once we start to build that audience and we're seeing, oh, they're really looking for this, we'd love to develop more for you and see how we can really support the action challenge as it goes forward. And then we also have just other case studies and examples of communities doing great work in their community. So there's a lot of just like, if you're thinking about like, what can my team do? Obviously, we have this action list. Um, I have a couple people that I'm considering for my cross-sector team. What can my team do? These are a couple examples of the community work that's already happened, with kind of like our guidance. And it's just kind of sometimes it's easier to like see it happening and seeing like how others have done it to really think about how you and your community can do this work as well. All right. So I've been speaking for a while. How are we on time? We're pretty good on time.
We're good on time.
All
We've got a
right.
couple of questions in the chat. Christian, do you want to take them now or do you want to wait
Yeah,
until
I mean,
after the trailhead?
I can definitely if there's anything right now, we can take one or two potentially, and then we can go into the trailhead. Just so I
Yeah,
just so you guys can like so I could communicate and engage with you, right? That's my whole goal. I don't want to just speak at you for the whole hour. If there is there anything that was coming up um that was coming
yeah.
up?
So we've gotten a couple of them answered in the chat. So I'll encourage everybody to go back, but these just came in. One is I know that budgets are what limit you to five in the accelerator community application. In this case, three is the minimum, right? We can go way beyond in building our local coalition.
Yeah, yeah, I'm seeing that question from Jared. When we set up the action challenge, we wanted to try to lower the barrier of entry as best we could, without like it kind of being tough for that team to do some of these actions. So that's where we kind of like found this balance of we think we believe registering with three as a minimum would be great. That does not mean that it needs to remain as three. And it doesn't even mean that when you register, you only tell us three, right? If you have five, six, 10 people in the community that are a part of an amazing team and you want to register, if you share those emails with us, all that's going to do is get me even happier that you have a strong and great team. Um, and that just adds them to the newsletter. They get access to the communication and the trailhead group. So you can definitely have multiple members. It doesn't have to be just three, and it could always be more. Yeah.
Great. And then Jared said he loves yes and no answers, and Monica is taking care of him in the chat. But I will elevate his last question about mapping tools. So
Yeah.
obviously communities having access to data and visualized data help them make
Hmm.
the case, helps them um, improve their programming and their reach toward children who might live in nature deprived parts of town and or communities.
Hmm.
And so one of the benefits of joining the action challenge is that as one of those communities, you do have access to some of the great mapping tools that we have available. And I think that takes us right up until time, Christian. So if you want to go.
Of course. Yeah. To just quickly add to that, we have the opportunity to provide maps that have support from Kaboom and NatureQuant, who are our team members supporting this work, and of course support from our National League of Cities as well. So there's some great resources available, and there everything is not listed on our website. One, because there are like things that were developed after the fact that we built it. So there's always like improvement and there's always new things coming. So there's there are great resources on the website, and there are things that we have that are like little secrets. So unless you ask the right question, I guess you may not know that that's something that we offer. So great question, great questions, Jared. I saw coming in. And then I'm sure we have some more. It looks like some of those were answered, but I'll make sure I'll skim through the Q&A as well. Um, okay, so let's see. So I talked about the trailhead. Now, some people may know what that is, and others may not. So Children Nature Network has a website that's for community sharing and engagement, and it's like a social platform similar to like a Facebook or any social space. The difference is this space is really about uh, nature, right? And the people in the field and the community teams that are working in the field. So it's very focused. You don't get a lot of the the outside, there's no ads, there's no other things that are kind of confusing you. If you want to look in the feed, it's all like important nature specific items. The thing about the trailhead is we have groups about specific topics and things that are available that you might want to join. I'll go back about groups in a second. You can also see our full like network of people across the country that are here. Again, kind of talking about that nature everywhere map. This is a different map, but you can actually see who's in your area. Um, Maybe there's someone in here that you'd love to connect to. You can contact those people as well. We really just recently in the past year added events. So if there are any local events that you have, or there are like, for example, there's a Nevada who's in our Nature Everywhere community. They have a survey for Nevada residents. Post something like that on here. You have a cleanup day, a local event, anything that's happening, you can post that on here. We'd love to see folks post their events. There's also job opportunities. If you have an opening in your organization, you could do that on the trailhead and post that. And hopefully you'll get someone from the nature space that's interested in applying. There's just another space for you to really promote the organization itself that you're a part of, or the events that you're doing. But here's the special part. Here's the part that I can see that no one else can see unless they're a member. Excuse me. That's the Nature Everywhere communities peer learning network. That this is private. You cannot access it. I don't even think you can even search it on the trailhead, unless you're a part of the action challenge. So definitely join. I appreciate that. So here in this group, we have an experience that allows you to like really connect with the peer learning network. It focuses the membership list even more to the people that are doing this work in the Nature Everywhere community space. You can contact them. I have a nice little welcome video that I'm just talking to you about what is available on this platform. There are resources, there's a live feed, there's discussion forums, and then there's events about things that we're doing for Nature Everywhere communities. Another way to look at members that are near you. This is set up to show you who's like nearby in your area. And again, the whole point of this is like finding connections or people near you. So you have the option to like scroll through at least 2 or 3 pages of people that are near you. When you go to the resource center, the trailhead, as we're putting more and more content out, this is going to be a perfect space for your team to go in and just see what's available, along with our Children in Nature website, that has a bunch of other tools and resources. But these will be specific to like Nature Everywhere and the work that you're doing. So we'll have a folder here for you for resources for the Action Challenge. There are the recordings of prior private peer learning sessions and tools. We have events that happen in person. One of them happened at the conference, just other private events that not everybody gets invited to. Resources are available here, slides are here. So you're kind of like being a part of the Nature Everywhere community experience, even if you haven't been able to attend or join specific events. There's also specific to technical assistance, a little bit more like deeper tools. If you want to really dive deep into some tools that are available there as well. And then Austin, there are many communities that are doing some amazing work. Austin specifically, we put in here their story and how they got to where they are and the impact that they've done, that they've made in the community. Of course, live feed, discussion forums, just similar to any other forum that you could have. Questions go in there, responses go in there. But really the big thing is just having these resources. So that's just one of the things that come with joining the Action Challenge. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then give you all some time to ask some great questions. All right. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the questions that are in here. Looks like most of them were answered. Madeline, let me know if there's something that I'm not seeing. There's one from Olma that says, I'm an independent consultant for an indoor growing system called Tower Gardens. I'm currently working with a children's center that has a tower garden. Would this qualify as youth? Oh, someone's typing. Youth and nature connector. Are you asking specifically if that's like would support one of the actions. I don't know if you're in the chat. Oh, okay.
Monica
I see
answered
Monica
it.
answered that. Okay, Monica, did you want to come off mute?
Yeah, I'd like to offer a little more. I think, the recognition of, Ulma and others that are out there doing good work, leading local programming. I just want to name like maybe two things. One, Children in Nature Network has a Vitamin N challenge really honed in on like everyday experiences, right? And what it looks like for practitioners to lead this work. And I think, um, you know, we know that this is a unique, maybe this is a new or different or unique approach for some of you. And, we see power in like kind of, sorry, we see power in bringing people together to do something, right? And so the idea here is if you have a program like OLMA's or some other version, like how could partnership help support your vision or create a shared vision to scale or to expand or to really support more children connecting to the outdoors or experiencing the outdoors or creating spaces that they can go. So we don't want to eliminate, we want to celebrate those individual programs, and we want to recognize that this opportunity is unique to saying yes, and how do you build on how can collaboration help to create something, build upon what is existing.
Hmm.
I also want to elevate that almost said specifically about the action, right? So I don't know if that's any different. But Christian, she did answer you in the chat.
Okay. Yeah, I think the question was like having this space, does that include where is it? Children Nature Connector. Um yeah, I mean I think it would make sense if you happen to again like whether I think the only opportunities there would be like dedicating a position to youth summer employment or like expanding that program. Kind of what Monica was sharing, right? Like expanding that program and seeing what else you can do out there. Um, I guess the fact that it exists in itself may not potentially hit the requirement for the action, but as long as you can say that you've done with this program or this space, we've done this, and that ties to this specific action, then that would qualify. All right.
Jared said one more, the Outdoors for All Act. The U.S. Conference of Mayors recently voted unanimously to support the Outdoors for All Act. Will NLC and Children in Nature Network be tapping into this momentum and this network with opportunities for us to also advocate on this piece of legislation as a unit or on others as they arise?
I personally don't know much about that. Melanie, I'm not sure if you do or
I
Monica.
do. In short,
Okay.
no. But you said you like yes or no answers, Jared.
Yeah.
In short, no.
Yeah.
There are other organizations that have both won the legal constitution and standing to advocate for this. As a 501(c)(3), we are not allowed to do that, but NLC as a 501(c)(4) has an arm that will be doing some of that. So as far as I know, we are not promoting any of that action, but like love it if that's something you want to do personally, and or if you have a network of folks that you collectively would like to take some action with. We also have, the Outdoor Alliance for Kids that is taking action on outdoors, the Outdoors for All Act. REI does a lot. I'm just naming some folks that I know that are pushing sort of like unified community engagement on that act, but as part of our Nature Everywhere Action Challenge, we will not.
Thank you, Melanie.
Mhm.
I'm seeing a question from Lauren Zander. So the question is, I work at a school in the outdoor preschool realm, but I'm interested in including other educators who work with other age groups in indoor classrooms. Would these people count as collaborators? I also plan on including a council member. Um, yeah, I mean, like I had mentioned when I was talking about cross-sector teams, you can always add more. The specifics on that, I guess it would depend on what their roles are in the office or in the district. But we would want to say, like, if you're coming from a school district or a school sector or background, and you're also including or the hope is to include a council member, we might want one more sector or one more space. So that could be, a BIPOC led organization, a nonprofit in the area, um, you know, a Parks and Rec employee. So it seems like you have like at least 2/3 of it. And you might just need to add one more person for that team to be able to register. Um, I'm seeing what else. That was answered. Yeah, I mean, I think to answer Jared's question, he was saying policy can be our action, but this network will not be asked to take collective action on policy. So that's correct. Okay, Melanie's answering that. Okay, Jason, is it correct that you first apply for Action Challenge Community, then when the RFP opens, you can then apply for an accelerator community? Just want to make sure we apply appropriately. I would say that the way that this is designed, it's not set up like you do this one for 3 months and then you'll go and apply to do the other one. They feel like two different paths with two different experiences. Now, if there was a case potentially of an action challenge team that's like potentially like exceeding the actions, and we just feel like, oh, they would be a great potential community to apply, then that could be a path. But we're not thinking of like this is level one and then this is level two. They're kind of just under the same umbrella, but two different choices and two different paths. Um, Not sure if anyone else would want to expand on that.
Yeah. So I think Monica answered it a little earlier. Jason, if you scroll back in the chat, but if if you are interested in applying for the RFP for the accelerator community, you feel like your community is ready for that. One,
Mhm.
the Action Challenge is an ongoing thing. So like if you applied to the accelerator and you weren't accepted and you were like, but I would like to receive some recognition from this work, I would like to learn and prepare and get ready for some of those steps and actions that come with being an accelerator community, then you can apply then. There also is no harm in applying to the action challenge first. So
Yeah.
we also wouldn't look at your application should you decide to apply to be an accelerator community and say, well, this person is already in the action challenge community. Let's leave them alone. So it's really up to you. With you being here today, I would say go ahead and apply. If anything, it gets you thinking about the narrative of your community, could potentially help like bolster your language, the tools, the skills, the resources, some of the things that come with being an accelerator community before that application comes out. So that's the only thing I would add.
Yeah, thank you for making that point. Yeah, it's not like it's a a one ticket per community for this experience. Um, I think the action challenge would be very helpful uh, to support if you do plan in the future too to apply to the accelerator. The action challenge, like I mentioned, is just registration, and you get access to things as long as you have that cross-sector team of three. Where the accelerator does require an application period, does require a review period, does require to be approved in the end. So there are different entry points and different experiences, but there's a lot of great supportive actions in the action challenge that could potentially support your application uh, for the accelerator. All right. If anyone wants to ask a question on camera, don't be shy. If you want to just use the raise hand tool, um, we can let you on camera as well if you have any specific questions. Um, and as a reminder, I think we mentioned it, but this is a self-paced and like you control how much or how little you'd like to engage in this. We'd love for, like, on the website it says we do hope that you pledge to do at least two actions, and that's definitely what we'd love you to do. But we're not expecting it to be in 3 months, in 6 months. The goal is 12. But if there's something that you need to do at your own pace, it's totally fine. You'll still have the support that anybody else that has in terms of how much they engage or don't engage. We have we're we're having the opportunity to not only be a part of the digital peer learning space, but there's also plenty of virtual meetings that are going to be happening with our Nature Everywhere Accelerator communities, our prior communities in cities connecting children to nature as well. So there's a lot of just opportunities on a monthly or at least a bi-monthly space for you to connect with others that are doing this great work.
I do want to address what Jared said. Yes, it is going to be fun. Very excited about that. But he expressed that he is looking at the action challenge as sort of like he's going for the accelerator community first.
Mm-hmm.
And is mindful of the fact that their team is going to start with five, and that if they went the action challenge route, they would increase the size of the cohort.
Mm-hmm.
One, Jared, like, I invite you, encourage you, excited for you to apply to the accelerator community. And I want to say that just because we said three was the minimum, right? So like if you're going to go five, that's fine. That's great. That's good. Don't worry about increasing the size of cohort. One, a lot of this is going to be self-directed. So it's at your speed, at your pace. There are things that y'all could like learn, use, watch, do together as an internal team. And then there are opportunities, like Christian was mentioning, to connect with other folks that are doing this work. But I also don't imagine that all 5, 7, 12 of you all would be available at every moment.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been the case with a lot of the teams that we currently have that are Nature Everywhere Accelerator communities. And that is just, the case of like scheduling anything with anyone. So also don't let that be the reason to hold you back. If you're interested in going ahead and like kicking kicking up some dust.
Yeah, and I think it's mostly kind of a budget thing because I know
Mm-hmm.
that I had asked this question previously, and it was the reason five was set was because five would go to the peer learning opportunities would be,
Yeah.
part of
Yeah,
the
the Vision Lab in person. Yeah.
the Vision Lab, the in-person stuff, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
five is the number. So we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get to that minimum because we don't want to recruit 7, 8, 9, 10 people from 7, 8, 9, 10 organizations and then
Right.
be like, only you five can go to the Vision Lab. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of my reason in going that direction was because of that budgetary constraint. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the reason for that. And then with the action challenge being unlimited number of people, we have a lot of different folks in this community who are working in one way, shape, or form to connect people to the outdoors. They do it in a lot of different ways. Um, but initially we weren't thinking of engaging those more traditional conservation boards, DNRs,
Mm-hmm.
AZA aquarium, instead going the health route as opposed to the environmental stewardship and environmental literacy route. And so uh, that's why the five. It wasn't That's why it's the 5. It's a budgetary constraint. I very much understand that, but that's kind of the reason my brain's working the way it is.
Yeah, and I will say like some communities that have sort of like the robust field of folks that you just named, um the 5 is the leadership group, right? So those are the people that are driving the decisions, looking at the data, going to the community. They're they're like being trained and then they go out as the missionaries, for lack of a better term. I'm sure there's a better analogy to use here. And so they're pulling people together in the meetings. They're like facilitating, delegating, that kind of thing. So like sometimes 10 to 12 people, yeah, spreading the good word, exactly. 10 to 12 people might actually be too much to manage. Um, Especially coming from all those different places. So I just wanted to name that. But thanks for understanding that about the 5. And then Chrissy Lee just dropped. Oh, we have two,
Yeah,
three,
we have 2
couple
questions.
questions. Yeah.
There was one from Jen, and we do have to wrap up in a minute here, but those I want to answer these last 2 before we finish up.
Mhm.
So can our cohort be an outdoor nonprofit, a community-based advocacy group like Super Neighborhood Council, and a school? Is that diverse enough? I think so. I would probably need to learn a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I think it's 3 different spaces that would make sense. Um, yeah, I guess I'd need to know a little bit more about the organizations to know. Um, but I would say too, even if for any reason you were to submit something to us, and I'm not just going to be like, no, no, thank you. Like I'm going to try to follow up with you and make sure that like if there's something I feel like is potentially missing, not saying that you didn't do it properly or, because there are always going to be questions like this. I will reach out and say, hey, I think can you explain that a little bit more? Or even like, we think if you just add this person from this space, that might work for you. My goal is to get as many of you in here to get all these resources and the connection to the network. So I'll work with you on figuring this out if there's potentially something that we think is not there or is potentially missing. And then one last question. Can you share more about who the audience is of the Children Nature Network and Action Challenge Network and how are they engaged? So right now we have 18 is stuck in my head, but that was from last year. We had 18 Nature Everywhere community teams join us last year. And I believe we added another 4 or 5 this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Melanie. So those are Children in Nature Network communities that worked with us before Nature Everywhere was developed last year. So anywhere from 20 to 25 teams right now that are actively receiving support and they're having like this hands-on experience, and those are the people that you'll be able to connect to. And there are also other people, collaborative folks, partners, other people in our network. There's another 50 or so communities that we are not actively working with, like one-on-one with technical assistance or support, but they're also a part of this network. So, you'll have access to anywhere from like 50 to 70 different teams or members. And then the hope is that we are getting to that goal of 100 communities by next year. So you'll have, hopefully the goal of that 100 community amount that will be working with us. Hopefully that was the question, and I think that's what it was. All right, so I'm gonna be sharing my screen again before we go. So what's next? We've talked about this. If you're interested and excited about the Action Challenge and like to be a part of it, you just have to build your cross-sector team and register. The registration form is very simple. It's very quick. Let us know who you are. Let us know what organizations you're joining us from. Share any photos or stories that you have just to be a part of the Action Challenge. You also, again, get resources pretty much within a few business days, access to the peer learning network on the trailhead that has all those resources packaged into little folders. And then you'll get the access to the press release template, the badges, any cool, like fancy design stuff that you might want to use to promote and share that you're a part of the challenge. All right. And of course, we know that feedback is very important to us. If you have a second here, you could either scan this on your phone. It's just a quick 4-part question. Let us know, after you've learned about the action challenge, what do you think about it? Does it feel like it makes sense that your community applies to this? If not, let us know. Or if there's any other way that we can improve this experience, not just for the action challenge, but just other events that we have. I'll leave this up for a little bit here. And I think we're sending a link in the chat as well, so you can click on that. Okay. And then one final thing before we go, we're up down to like 1 minute, 3:59. I'm holding you guys till 4 p.m. Eastern. We do invite you to stay engaged by joining our upcoming Children in Nature event, Vitamin N, Inspiration and Innovative Strategies from Brazil, which is a part of the Families Together in Nature program. It's a series of events and resources to help parents and caregivers get out in nature. And our speakers are going to have, I think they're bilingual as well, so they'll be able to talk about those experiences. And we'd love to have you on that if you'd like to register. The good thing about registering is, as long as you register, even if you for some reason cannot attend, you will get the recording to this session, to that session, and any other events that we have publicly. If you register, you'll get access to those recordings and tools. We'll be following up with an email with a link to the recording and any other websites or links that we talked about today to anyone who's registered. If you want to share that with your team or potential team or your peers or colleagues, anyone, we'd love to get any of this promoted, even if you don't feel like you'd like to join the Action Challenge. I do want to thank Melanie for being here. I want to thank you all for participating or even just joining us and listening to what we had to share on the Action Challenge. Thank you all so much for being here. That's it. I'm 1 minute off, but that's okay. Thank you all for being here.
Have a great afternoon. Bye, y'all.